Contact. The alarm wasn't loud, just a soft, persistent chime that pulled Nyx from her drowsy state. Her station at the edge of Tolari space was considered punishment duty, endless cycles of monitoring empty space where nothing ever happened. She blinked her 4 eyes in sequence, clearing away the fatigue as she focused on the holographic display. There it was again, a signal, faint but unmistakable. Computer, analyze unknown contact in Sector 7-3. Nyx commanded, her voice breaking the silence of the monitoring station. Her slender blue fingers tapped across the interface, enhancing the scan. The computer's response was immediate. Signal pattern matches no known species classification. Anomaly detected in energy signature. Nyx's upper eyes narrowed while her lower ones widened, the Tolari expression of intense curiosity. Specify anomaly. Energy pattern contains elements consistent with theoretical propulsion systems abandoned by the Galactic Council 400 cycles ago. System deemed inefficient and hazardous. Nyx felt her heartbeats quicken. 400 cycles ago was when the Great Purge occurred, when the galaxy's most dangerous species was supposedly eliminated. Her tentacle-like appendages curled around her chair as she opened a communication channel. Command, this is Outpost Sigma 9. I'm detecting an anomalous signal consistent with pre-purge technology. After a moment of static, the gruff voice of Commander Vex responded. Cadet Nyx, your equipment is malfunctioning again. Run diagnostics and submit a maintenance request. With respect, Commander, I've already run 3 diagnostic scans. The signal is real. A resigned sigh crackled through the speaker. Nyx, there hasn't been an unregistered ship in that quadrant for over 2 centuries. It's probably space debris reflecting our own scans. But the pattern. That's enough. Cadet, log it as a system error and continue your shift. The communication cut off, leaving Nyx alone with a persistent signal on her screen. She knew what command would say, that she was seeing phantoms, desperate to escape the monotony of her assignment. But Nyx trusted her instruments, and more importantly, she trusted her instincts. The signal was moving closer to the abandoned mining moon, Carla 7. If it was space debris, it wouldn't change course with such precision. Nyx glanced at the small personal transport docked outside her station. It was meant for emergencies only, but her curiosity burned too strongly to ignore. She made her decision quickly, programming the station to loop monitoring data for the next 6 hours. Sometimes, she muttered to herself as she gathered emergency supplies, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. The journey to Carla 7 took nearly 2 hours, time Nyx spent reviewing historical records of pre-purge technology. Most information was restricted, but as a communication specialist, she had access to signal patterns of ancient civilizations. One pattern in particular captured her attention, the propulsion signature of human vessels. Humans, even the name sent a shiver through her neural filaments. The stories told to Tolari children warned of their dangerous unpredictability, their chaotic nature, their frightening adaptability. But they were gone, eliminated during the purge when the Galactic Council deemed them too dangerous to exist among the stars. As Nyx approached the dark side of the mining moon, she activated her ship's stealth systems. The signal was stronger now, emanating from a narrow canyon that once housed mining operations. She landed her transport at the canyon's edge and donned her environmental suit. Carla 7 had minimal atmosphere, enough oxygen for brief exposure, but not enough to sustain life for long periods. The landscape was barren, gray dust covering abandoned machinery. Nyx moved carefully through the ruins, following her handheld scanner toward the source of the signal. She rounded a collapsed structure and froze. There, half hidden in the shadow of an overhanging cliff, was a ship unlike any she had ever seen. Its design was elegant yet functional, with smooth lines that seemed to absorb the starlight rather than reflect it. No external markings, no visible weapon systems, but Nyx could sense its power, dormant but ready. A human ship, it had to be. Her scanner indicated minimal energy readings, The vessel was in some kind of hibernation mode, but as she approached, lights began to illuminate along its hull, responding to her presence. Nix hesitated, uncertain whether to flee or continue. Curiosity won out. She moved closer, scanning for an entry point. A seamless door suddenly materialized in the hull, sliding open silently. Warm light spilled out, along with a gentle hiss of equalizing pressure. Nix drew her standard-issue pulse pistol and stepped forward. The interior was surprisingly spacious, with corridors that curved organically, rather than in the rigid geometry preferred by most spacefaring species. "Hello," she called out, her universal translator automatically switching to the basic trade language used across the galaxy. No response. She continued deeper into the ship, noting the unusual design. Everything seemed built for efficiency and comfort simultaneously, a concept most species found contradictory. The corridor opened into what appeared to be a control center. Displays flickered with information in a language Nix couldn't read. At the center was a chair, occupied by a figure that didn't move as she entered. "Identify yourself," Nix demanded, raising her weapon. Slowly, the chair rotated. The being sitting there looked almost Tolari-like, but with stark differences. Only two eyes, brownish skin instead of blue, and hair covering the top of its head. A human. "I could ask you the same question," the human said, voice deeper than Nix expected. "Considering you're the one who boarded my ship." Nix kept her weapon steady despite her shock. "How is this possible?" Humans were eradicated during the purge. The human's mouth curved slightly. A smile, Nix recalled from her xenobiology studies. "Not all of us." "Who are you?" "My name is Tarek, captain of the Endurance." He gestured around the control room. "Last known surviving vessel of Earth's deep space fleet." "Earth," Nix repeated. The name was almost mythical, the human homeworld, reportedly rendered uninhabitable during the purge. Tarek studied her with unnervingly direct eye contact. "And you are?" "Nix, communications specialist. Tolari Defense Force. Are you here to finish the job?" "Nix of the Tolari." There was no fear in his voice, only resigned curiosity. "What job?" "Eliminating the last human." Nix lowered her weapon slightly. "That's not my mission. I detected your signal and investigated against orders." "Curious by nature," Tarek observed. "That's something our species share." "Why are you here?" "In abandoned Tolari space." Tarek stood, and Nix noticed he was taller than she expected. Humans were supposed to be physically unimpressive compared to other species. This one didn't seem weak. "I've been in cryosleep for nearly 300 years, he explained. "My ship was programmed to wake me when it detected a specific pattern of signals, evidence that might indicate other human survivors." "And did it find any?" Nix asked. "No, but it found the next best thing, a species that might listen before shooting." His eyes studied her. "The Tolari weren't part of the council that ordered our extinction." "We were a junior member," Nix clarified, "with no vote on major decisions, which is why I allowed your approach." Tarek moved to a display, touching controls with practiced ease. A galactic map appeared, with numerous points highlighted. "These are locations where other human ships might have escaped the purge. I visited 17 of them over the last 30 years of my subjective time." "You found nothing." "Remnants, debris, evidence of battles." His voice remained steady, but Nix could sense the weight of his solitude. "The official history says humans were eradicated because they were too unpredictable, too aggressive to join the galactic community," Nix said. Tarek's smile turned bitter. "Is that what they told you?" "The truth is simpler. We refuse to be controlled. The Council's primary species, the Acrylin and the Voth, demand conformity. Humans question. We innovate. We change. Change is dangerous," Nix recited automatically. "Change is necessary," Tarek countered. "Without it, civilizations stagnate and die." A sudden alarm blared from Nix's handheld scanner. She checked the display, feeling her blood cool with fear. A Toleri patrol vessel is approaching. They must have detected my unauthorized departure. She looked up at Tarek. They'll find your ship. Not necessarily. Tarek moved with surprising speed to the control panels. This vessel has remained hidden for centuries. It can disappear again. They'll search the moon's surface, Nix argued. They have thermal imaging, ground-penetrating radar. Technology I've encountered before and adapted to. The lights in the ship dimmed as systems shifted. But I need to know something first, Nix of the Tolari. What? What will you tell them when they ask what you found here? It was the question Nix had been dreading since she first saw the human ship. Her duty was clear. Report the presence of a prohibited species, allow the patrol to capture or eliminate the human, and return to her post with a commendation instead of a reprimand. But something deep within her neural networks rebelled against that path. The stories of human danger seemed inconsistent with the being before her, a solitary survivor searching for his kind across the vast emptiness of space. I have approximately 2 minutes to decide whether to trust you or vanish into the darkness, Tarek said quietly. What will it be? Nick stared at the human, at this living myth from a species that had dared to defy the Council. The stories called them dangerous, but they never explained why a galaxy-spanning coalition had deemed it necessary to exterminate an entire species. Hide your ship, she decided. I'll tell them I was tracking a sensor ghost. Tarek studied her, perhaps searching for deception. Why would you do that? Because extinction is wrong, no matter the species, and because I want to hear the truth, not the Council's version of it. A genuine smile spread across the human's face as the ship around them began to power down, systems going dormant. I think, Tarek said as darkness enveloped them, this is the beginning of something interesting. Alliance. Nix had never been a skilled liar. When the patrol vessel's commander questioned her about the unauthorized departure from her post, she claimed a sensor malfunction had indicated a potential breach in the monitoring network. She had investigated personally, finding nothing but an unusual radiation pattern from Carlos 7's abandoned mines. To her surprise, they believed her, or at least they pretended to. It earned her a formal reprimand and double shifts for the next 15 cycles, but they departed without searching the moon's surface. For 3 days, Nix performed her duties with robotic efficiency, her mind constantly returning to the human hidden beneath the moon's surface. Was he still there? Had he fled to another system? The questions consumed her thoughts until she could bear it no longer. On the 4th night, during her isolation shift, Nix programmed the monitoring station to send false readings again and took her transport back to Carlos 7. The canyon appeared empty when she arrived, no sign of the sleek human vessel. Her heart sank, a strange disappointment washing over her. Had she imagined it all? Then a section of the rock wall shimmered and dissolved, revealing the entrance to a cavern large enough to house a ship. Tarek stood in the opening, arms crossed, watching her approach. You came back, he observed as she removed her environmental helmet. I had questions. Most people do when they meet a species they thought extinct. He gestured for her to follow him inside. The cavern was illuminated by portable lights, creating pools of brightness amid the shadows. The human ship sat at the center, partially dismantled as Tarek performed maintenance. You've been busy, Nix noted. I find it helps to keep my hands occupied when my mind is troubled. Tarek led her to a small area with makeshift seating. What questions bring you back to this forsaken rock? If humans were truly as dangerous as our histories claim, why didn't you kill me when I discovered you? Tarek laughed, a sound that echoed strangely in the cavern. Direct. I appreciate that. He sat across from her. Humans aren't the monsters your histories portray. We're adaptable, yes. Innovative, certainly. But we're not inherently violent. Then why the purge? His expression darkened. Because we discovered something the Council wanted kept hidden. Something that threatened the power structure they'd maintained for thousands of years. Before he could elaborate, an alarm sounded from inside his ship. Tarek moved quickly to the entrance, checking a monitoring device. "We have a problem," he announced, voice tense. 3 vessels just entered orbit around Carla 7, not Tolari design. Nix joined him, examining the readings. Her blood froze in her veins. Acrylon warships. What are they doing here? This is Tolari space. They're looking for me. Tarek's face was grim. Or more precisely, what I carry. I don't understand. Tarek returned to his ship, Nix following close behind. In the control room, he accessed a secured compartment and removed a small data crystal. "This is why humans were purged from the galaxy," he explained, holding up the crystal. "Information about the true nature of the jump gates." Nix knew about the jump gates, massive structures that allowed instantaneous travel between star systems. They predated all known civilizations, artifacts of some ancient, vanished race. The Council controlled access to the gates, determining which species could use them and which could not. What about them? They're not transportation devices, Nix. They're weapons, planet killers. And humans figured out how to activate their secondary functions. Nix felt her neural filaments contract in shock. That's impossible. The gates have existed for millennia without anyone discovering their true purpose, Tarek finished. That's because the Acrylon and Voth already knew. They've been suppressing the knowledge, eliminating any species that gets too close to the truth. The ship shuddered as something impacted the moon's surface nearby. The Acrylon were beginning their search pattern. "We need to leave," Tarek decided, moving to activate his ship's systems. "There are 3 warships up there," Nix protested. "You'll never break orbit." "I've evaded worse odds." The human's hands flew across the controls, bringing dormant systems online. "You should return to your post, Nix. Pretend you never saw me. They'll detect my transport leaving the surface. They'll capture me for questioning." Tarek paused, considering. "Then it seems we're in this together." He gestured to the co-pilot's chair. "Ever flown in a human vessel?" "No. It's quite an experience." His mouth curved in that expression. "Smile," Nix reminded herself, that she was beginning to recognize as characteristic of his species, especially when we're doing something reckless. Another impact, closer this time. The Acrylon were systematically bombarding the area. "What's your plan?" Nix asked, strapping herself into the co-pilot's chair. "First, we survive. Then, we make it to your colony on Tolari Prime." "My colony? Why?" Tarek's expression became deadly serious. "Because the Acrylon aren't just hunting me, Nix. They're preparing to use one of the gates as a weapon. Your colony is the target." The revelation hit Nix like a physical blow. "That's insane. The Tolari have never threatened the Council. It's not about threat. It's about control. The Tolari population has grown too large, become too independent. The Council fears you'll discover what humans did." He activated the main engines, which hummed with surprising quietness. "Hold tight. This will be interesting." The ship lifted effortlessly despite its size, maneuvering through the narrow cavern entrance and into the open air. Almost immediately, warning signals flashed across the control panels. "They've locked weapons on us," Nix reported, reading the tactical display. "Expected that." Tarek's hands danced across the controls. "Watch this." The ship suddenly accelerated at a rate that should have been impossible, pressing Nix back into her seat. They shot upward through the thin atmosphere, directly toward one of the Acrylon vessels. "Are you insane?" Nix gasped. "You're going to get us killed." "Humans are predictably unpredictable," Tarek replied calmly. "They expect us to run or hide. They don't expect us to charge directly at their biggest ship." Energy weapons fired from the Acrylon vessel, but somehow Tarek anticipated each shot, the human ship dancing between energy beams with impossible precision. "How are you doing this?" Nix demanded. "Human neural interfaces. I'm not just piloting the ship. I'm feeling it. Sweat beaded on his forehead, despite his calm demeanor. The Akrylin banned this technology because they couldn't control it. They were almost upon the lead Akrylin vessel now, close enough that Nix could see individual weapon ports opening to fire. At the last possible moment, Tarek yanked the controls, sending their ship skimming along the larger vessel's hull, too close for its weapons to target effectively. Divert all power to the rear shields, he instructed. We're going to need it in 3, 2, 1. The human ship cleared the Akrylin vessel just as the other 2 warships fired, their weapons striking their own flagship instead of Tarek's ship. Explosions blossomed across the Akrylin vessel's hull. You used their formation against them, Nix realized. Basic tactics. Force your enemy to create their own problems. Tarek pushed the engines beyond what Nix thought possible, sending them hurtling toward deep space. We have maybe 30 minutes before they regroup and pursue. That's not enough time to reach Tolari Prime. The colony was hours away, even at maximum speed. No, but it's enough time to send a warning. Tarek glanced at her. I need access to your colony's communication network. Understanding dawned on Nix. You want me to help you send an unauthorized message to my people, warning them about a council species planning to attack. Yes, that's treason. That's survival. Tarek's eyes met hers. I spent centuries alone, Nix, the last of my kind. I don't want to see another species suffer our fate. Nix hesitated, torn between duty and the growing certainty that this human was telling the truth. Even if I wanted to help, I don't have the authorization codes for a system-wide alert. You don't need them. Tarek pulled up a communications interface unlike any Nix had seen. Human encryption systems can bypass Akrylin security protocols. We developed them during the war. I just need you to identify the correct frequencies. Another choice. Another moment that would define everything that followed. Nix thought of her family on Tolari Prime, of the billions of her people who had no idea of the danger approaching them. Lower frequency band, oscillating between these resonance points, she said, indicating a pattern on the display. That will reach the emergency systems on all Tolari worlds simultaneously. Tarek nodded, fingers already coding the message. I'm including data on the jump gate protocols, evidence of the Akrylin's intentions. Your scientists will be able to verify it. They'll need more than data. They'll need time. I know. Tarek finished the message and looked at her. That's the other part of my plan. We're going to give them that time. How? By doing something completely, utterly human. He smiled, but there was no humor in it now. We're going to make ourselves the most interesting target in the galaxy. As the message transmitted, Tarek altered their course, heading not away from the Akrylin ships, but toward a nearby asteroid field. The key to survival, he explained as they weaved between massive rocks, isn't running faster than your predator. It's making them work so hard to catch you that they exhaust themselves. The Akrylin ships followed, just as Tarek predicted. Their larger vessels struggled to navigate the dense field, while the human ship darted between obstacles with fluid grace. We can't keep this up forever, Nix pointed out as a near miss sent vibrations through the hull. We don't need forever, just long enough. Tarek guided them deeper into the field, toward a massive asteroid nearly the size of a small moon. Your people received the message. They're evacuating the colony nearest to the jump gate. How do you know? He tapped a display showing communication traffic. I can decode their transmissions. Your military is mobilizing. Relief flooded through Nix, but the Akrylin still have control of the gate. For now, Tarek piloted them into a narrow canyon, cutting across the large asteroid surface. Care to help me change that? What did you have in mind? Something impossible. He grinned, the expression transforming his face. Something human. The plan was insane. By all rational calculation, it shouldn't work. Yet hours later, as they watched from a hidden position, the Akrylin vessels surrounding the jump gate found themselves confronted by an approaching Tolari fleet. They're actually negotiating, Nix marveled, listening to the communication channels. The council representatives are denying everything. Of course they are. Tarek monitored the jump gate's energy readings. But your people have the data now. They know what to look for. The standoff continued for tense hours, neither side willing to fire the first shot. Finally, the Acrolan vessels began to withdraw, unable to execute their plan with so many witnesses present. They'll try again, Tarek warned. Different target, different time. But not today. Nix turned to the human who had risked everything to save a species not his own. Why did you do it? After what the Council did to your people, you could have let the Toleri suffer the same fate. Tarek was quiet for a long moment. Because extinction is wrong, no matter the species, he finally said, echoing her words from days earlier. And because humanity's legacy shouldn't be that we disappeared, but that we helped others survive. What will you do now? Continue searching. There must be other human ships out there, other survivors. His eyes held hers. Unless you're planning to turn me in. Nix shook her head. The Toleri Council will want to meet the being who saved billions of lives. Once they verify your evidence about the gates, they'll offer protection. An alliance. Tarek seemed doubtful. Between the last human and an entire species. Why not? You said humans are adaptable. Nix gestured toward the stars visible through the viewport. Perhaps it's time for both our kinds to adapt together. As they set course for Toleri Prime, Nix realized that the myths about humans had contained one truth. They were dangerous, not because of aggression or unpredictability, but because they refused to accept impossibility. They looked at the universe not as it was, but as it could be. And in that moment, she understood why the Council had feared them so deeply. Humans didn't just survive. They transformed everything they touched, including, it seemed, the fate of species they had never even met. The age of isolation was ending. A new era was beginning, and it had started with a signal that shouldn't have existed, detected by an alien who chose curiosity over fear.